missed the button. So I'm not having a problem. I'm just having a delay.
It's on, yes.
Yay, we're live. Okay. Well, let's get started for
Yeah, but there's no side by side.
I don't know what to do about that. It's still not working. We're still live.
Yeah, because it's on my phone, so I'm sharing it.
Same thing. Oh, my phone didn't charge last night. That's not exactly good. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the think tank where we use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, pinch of common sense to explore topics and find logical, unbiased conclusions. Today, I'm back once again with friend of the channel, Dion Powell, for our weekly live stream to discuss all things Donald Trump. As always, Donald Trump keeps us very, very busy, but this week is exceptionally so, as we all have a lot of questions about what just happened yesterday on Liberation Day with tariffs. But before we dive in, I want to allow the Honorable Dion Powell to tell you who he is, what he's done, and why having him on the panel today is exceptional and good for us so that we can see what's going on in the world and what perspective we're getting. Dion?
Once again, family, please excuse that radiator sound in the background. That's just the sound of the Bronx, New York, where I come from. Good old fashioned heating device in your apartment buildings. Anyway, so I'm
Going
just
on
related with Dion
in the
Powell
world.
of the 78th Assembly District here in the Bronx, New York, our county, our borough, and everything. I'm a consultant. I'm a big fan of the Trump administration, meaning like from the whole journey to get here. Oh, wow, excuse me. It's early when we're shooting these things, and we got to build our energy up, Leo, because these people need to feel it. Because we're here to talk about what's going on civically. Because there's nothing but chatter what's going on in politics. Whereas before, it's like, with George W., maybe Obama, Donald Trump has you thinking and reacting and all these wonderful things. So back to you, Skip.
Yeah, it's true. So the one thing about President Trump is there are changes. Like him, don't like them. There are more changes now, possibly, than any other time, if any other president in the history of wait, save possibly FDR, because war of the depression, three R's, Reconstruction. Save that possible time and maybe even more. Donald Trump is the man for that. Let there be no question. There's a lot to talk about. The biggest topic to unravel today would definitely be tariffs. I was going to jump right into that, but I don't want to lose a topic that I want to discuss prior to that. I'm going to skip around and do this one first because it's an important topic. So much is going on. There's so much important things happening that we can spend a whole episode just on tariffs, but we're going to start with an innocent man being deported. So about 2 weeks ago, President Trump and his administration received a court order to belay a flight to El Salvador with 300 people, immigrants, to one of the worst prisons in the world. The judge said, "Don't send them." He said the flight was in the air, then it landed, and the judge said, "Turn around." They didn't do that, and it seems they were starting to suffer what some call a crisis of the Constitution, a constitutional crisis, excuse me, where the two branches are not getting along and there's deep, immediate violations of the Constitution. And the president, instead of he's doubled down, he's saying, well, we're going to do this. We're going to strip away the judge's power to be able to tell us that we can't do it, even though he did it already. Now he wants to go to the Congress, he wants to go to the legislative branch and overrule a judge's ability to be able to make that determination post having violated the order. And at the center of this controversy, we have a Mr. Garcia who was on that flight. Now, the Trump administration is saying that he's a violent criminal, he's Tren de Agua, he is a leader, everything that you could possibly say bad about somebody. Suddenly, this man is the ringleader in it. He's the leader in one of the most violent gangs in the world. He's child trafficking, you name it. Now he's guilty of it, and everybody around him in the left wing is saying that this is not true. He's a family man, and the problem here is we don't know because he didn't get a day in court. So I want to start with that. So, Mr. Dion Powell, from a MAGA fan base, someone who truly supports this man, what is your perspective on this situation?
It's unfortunate. Let's move on. Bam!
How about okay, yeah, it is very unfortunate. They can't get him back. They're like, oh, well, we don't have no jurisdiction. The family only found him because there was a picture of him, and they was able to find a picture of him. There was no report of him being taken. What about the constitutional crisis? What about the fact that this is super important because this is precedent. What that means is what happens now is establishing what's going to happen going forward. It sets a precedent. And the precedent that Trump has just set is he's not listening to judges. Do you think that the executive branch should have that kind of power?
Well, the answer is it depends on the situation. The next thing is if they have a problem with it, I just realized maybe I made a mistake. They could do one of two things. Nothing like it. But seriously, they should take it to Congress and the Congress should do something, or these lower courts should take it to the Supreme Court. That way, we can hash it out. So that's the real checks and balances. There's three. And I forgot the other one, which is the Supreme Court. The other judiciaries, take it to the Supreme Court. Let's see what they say.
Well, he's not going to the Supreme Court. What he's actually doing is
You
he's
mean they
going
won't go to the
to
Supreme Court? They,
Trump.
because they're coming after
Trump
Trump.
Trump is trying to circumvent the lower courts by going to Congress and having Congress write a law for to ban lower courts jurisdiction on nationwide injunctions. What that means in English is now you can go to the court, but they can't say you can't ban somebody because they can't stop the executive branch from doing it. He's trying to go to the legislative branch right now to have them write a nationwide injunction. He's trying to stop the lower court's power to do so. That's what he's doing right
Makes
now,
sense to
post
me.
violating the order.
Makes sense to
But
me.
he already violated. So if they enshrine that in the Constitution, if they write that a law and make it a constitutional amendment, that works going forward. But he's already violated the Constitution. He's already caused the constitutional crisis. It's already happening. It's done.
Well,
A lot of the mainstream media is not reporting on it, but by definition,
again, if everybody wants to throw around all these fancy words, cliches, and phrases, there are checks and balances between who? The president, Congress, and the Supreme Court, right or wrong. So maybe in his mind, because he's not a lawyer, and his legal interpretation as the president, executive officer, the only people that could check him and his supervisors are Congress and the Supreme Court. Because so far, the people themselves have already put him in office. So that's the other checks and balances, which is the American voting bloc. But other than that, those are the options. So actually having these lower courts, let's say in Idaho, try to do something to stop the president from taking action that affects nationwide implications kind of makes sense. But again, like I said, it depends on a case by case basis. Just like you said earlier, we have this unfortunate incident with this one person that got deported. But what about the masses that are being deported,
Well,
which are justified?
a third of them weren't violent criminals. A third of them weren't Trey De La Warwa. That was that
Don't
Warwa.
care. They already broke the law
Wow.
by coming in here illegally. See how easy that was to make them criminals overnight? And suspend your disbelief of all that emotional, wordplay that's going to strike at the heart and soul of yourself and then play with your moral compass, where people are getting aborted right now at 9 months. Ah.
Well, let's talk about the big picture here.
We don't want to talk
That
about
was a
abortion, do we? Abortion, abortion, abortion. The blue team's obsessed with abortion.
if we want to deflect to abortion, I would say that in Florida we're still having a discussion that, for what I understand, people are leaving. That you can be raped by your father and dying
People are
because of
leaving
it,
to
and
move to Florida.
literally written,
Here we
you are
go with
not
that
able to
one
get an abortion.
isolated incident, that one that woulda, coulda, shoulda, that one little incident. Just all it takes is that one person that the
And the
administration
same thing with the
reported by
9 month
mistake.
abortion.
Just
So if it's
one.
good for the
All it takes
goose,
is
something
one.
about ganders. Let's go ahead back to where we were
Again,
going with
there's
the
a male
tariff.
goose, but if it identifies as a regular goose, I don't know. But let's move on to the
That's a
next
good one.
issue. We're not here to pass standardized testing, okay? But we're here to educate you.
Oh, that was good. If it identified, that was good. All right, let's talk. This is like real serious though. This Liberation Day that occurred yesterday, April 2nd, 2025, that just destroyed the economy. And people are not going to really feel the effects of what happened for 3 to 4 months. I know that you don't like to get into economics too deeply, but here's the thing, right? So he said there's going to be a bunch of tariffs and things. What a tariff is a tax on imported goods for anybody who doesn't know. So when he says tariff, that means if something comes in and it's a 25% tariff, it's a 25% tax. That means if it costs $1, it costs $1.25. It means if it costs $100, it now costs $125. It's a 25% tax. The company is supposed to pay that tax when it comes in. However, what company is going to pay 25% more? They're going to say, well, if I got to pay 25%, well, then the consumer, the person buying, is going to have to pay that 25% because I'm not paying it. So it costs them $125 for that $100. Now you got to pay that extra 25%. So when you was going to pay $100, now you're going to pay $125. This is affecting big industries. Like, let's suppose you want to buy a car. Cars are going to go up $5,000, $6,000 per vehicle. So if you was going to pay 20,000 for a car, now it's 25,000 for that same car. It's going to be the same across the board in multiple industries. Computer chips take steel, so computers are going to go up. Tablets, iPhones, you name it, everything is going to feel the effects of these tariffs. Now, his plan is to make these companies come to America. Like, if you come to America, then you don't have to pay tariffs. That sounds wonderful on paper because then it's like, bring a company here, then the tariffs disappear. But the truth of the matter is, companies went overseas because they can get cheaper employment. What that means is you go to China and you might have to pay somebody $5 an hour versus coming here, what is a minimum wage, and then you got to pay and that's if that was the end of it, that would be okay. That would make prices go up, but not as much as when you start adding things in like unemployment insurance, Medicaid, or whatever health benefits it is. What else are there? Is so many different taxes that apply to having an employee in America that prices are going to go up even more than with the tariffs or almost as much as with the tariffs. So, with that being said, with tariffs being explained and why bringing the companies to America is not actually going to reduce prices because you think they're going to have to pay employees more and not charge you more, that's ludicrous. You have the richest people in the world paying their trying to find every loophole they can, importing people. I think they call it H-1B visas, importing people so that they don't have to pay Americans right now so that they can try and save every dollar they can, even though, some of them, let's say Elon Musk or Meta, some of the richest people in the world are not paying their employees top dollar and bringing in top American people. They're not doing that right now. Right now, they're importing people. So it's not going to bring jobs, and prices are going to go up when it's manufacturing. You have to pay higher wages. Unless there's another perspective I haven't seen. I know you're not an economist, and the economy is not really a strong suit where you like to dwell, but do you have a thought on it?
I think if you weren't scared about the economy, you should be now with that information that you just heard. However, if you're going to look at this from both sides, then you can see what the intent of this Liberation Day, which is something that he talked about a while ago, which is reciprocal tariffs. What does that mean? That means that so far it's an uneven playing field as people tariff us and tax our goods exported. For example, we pay, let's say, 30% in tariffs to certain countries, whereas they pay 20%, or they pay 5% to us. So we're paying 20 and they're paying us 5. So Donald Trump is like, hey, that's not fair to the American people. We should have an even tax to tariff system here, in which, hey, if you're paying 5% here, so we should pay 5% over there. Now, how does that sound? America is no longer the police and parent of the world. And that's the main point. So let's even the playing field with reciprocal tariffs. And also, hopefully, we can allude to his Office of External Revenue Service to get some of our money back that was spent over across the world. And I actually spoke to some of my African friends, and they're happy U.S. aid went down or is going down. Hopefully, will go down with all the money laundering and using that money to actually take over and influence governments in the continent and so forth. So I'll end there and back to you.
That is a wonderful thing. Reciprocal taxes can be something that levels the playing field if done properly. As a matter of fact, I heard Donald Trump speaking yesterday, and actually, he's only levying half of what he calls fair reciprocal trade. Fair reciprocal trade because, oh, was that the word he used? He's only going to give half. So if a country is, let's say, taxing us with tariffs at 60%, he's only going to give 30. He's not going to meet them. He's not going to go percent for percent. He's only going to go half of whatever percentage they're charging. So if Europe is charging us 50% taxes, he's only going to charge, or for tariffs, he's only going to charge 25%.
That's a nice guy,
And
right?
the only problem that I have with that is listening to every
What a problem.
single other country in the world, and I'm listening to the world leaders, and they're all saying the same thing. These taxes that you're talking about don't exist, or they're not at the numbers that he's claiming. Now, maybe every other country in the world's lying, or maybe Donald Trump's lying. I'll leave it to the audience to decide, but somebody's lying. It's everybody else or Donald Trump. And as far as the people I've spoken to in Africa, they're upset about US aid because they're losing funding for things like
Abortion,
fighting fighting AIDS.
gender
That's the
affirming
one I
care.
heard. That's what I heard from white South Africans yesterday.
Now
They're
we're back to
upset.
good white South Africans, unlike that evil Elon Musk, right?
Well, they actually the white South Africans I've spoken to don't like Elon Musk. And I was blown away, to be quite frank with you. And that's because I thought that, with everything going on in South Africa that we're getting reported here, where they're getting their homes raided, they're getting kicked out, and black people are doing all these violent things to them, and Elon Musk is trying to rescue them. That is not what they are saying.
Okay.
Not the real South Africans. Elon Musk is saying it, but he's not a real South African, is he? He's
Well,
American now.
what about the other countries on the continent, like Guinea, for example, or the Sudan, or the
The ones with the
DRC,
AIDS
where
problems
Joe
that
Reed is
South
from?
Africa's research is trying to fund the fight for. Like the this is what South Africa is doing. They're fighting AIDS to help the rest of the continent. Isn't that what USAID is doing?
No, U.S. aid, actually, one of my doctors explained to me, is a misnomer, thinking that we're going to provide aid and all this medical supplies and, clothing to all these people in the world that are disadvantaged. But in actuality, if you read the website, it's actually to push and promote the United States agenda in these countries. So you can see on this, if you read actually the website, the mission statement, and what it does, that's the long end game. For example, U.S. aid if there's a disaster, we'll try to get that war-torn or whatever third world country to buy all its supplies from the United States and push everybody out of the equation. So that's just an example of the USA game, if you know what I mean. And then on top of that, use some of the funding, research, and grants to actually indirectly influence the political government structure, meaning putting certain money in certain NGO subcontractor hands. And by default, sometimes the parliament, let's say, or to actually indirectly sponsor and support a new rising political party like the Hamas. So some people forget that Hamas actually started out as a political party like the Democrats. Man.
or the Democrat Republicans, because they started off as one party. That's back in the day, and
Secretary General.
and a lot of people believe that there's still one party now. And okay, so as far as the USA thing goes, before we move on, that is what you just described as being able to push the American agenda is something that the Republicans have complained is not happening. The reason they wanted to disband US aid, their reasoning behind wanting to disband it is because it was supposed to push American agendas and it was not. That was their entire reason for wanting to disband it. So when you're saying on the website that's what it does, that's because that's what it was constructed to do, and that's what the Republican Party wanted it to do. That's what the Conservative Party wanted it to do. It's being disbanded for lack of doing that. But let's kick it on Trump and Liberation Day. He came into office toting that he was going to bring prices down day one. We all know that that wasn't possible. Not getting too deep into economics, if all the prices fell, it would probably be because people, if you own a store and you could charge $5 for eggs, then you're going to charge $5 for eggs. But if suddenly nobody was buying eggs, you would have to lower prices to try and get people to buy. So when prices go down, it's because people are not buying. It's called deflation. Deflation is a bad sign for the economy. So we didn't really want prices to all drop down, even though emotionally that's the right thing to want. From an economist's logical standpoint, that's a super bad thing. It's like the worst thing that could happen. It's worse than inflation. You want stagflation to disappear. You want prices, you want people's wages to increase, but you don't want nobody to be able to afford everything, which is what causes deflation. So Trump saying that he wanted to bring prices down, he wanted to regulate prices. I don't think he's stupid. I think he knows more than he tells people. I know for a fact the man is not stupid.
If
He
you
said
think
with
this
people,
man is stupid, maybe you should reevaluate your intelligence level.
however, what he did do was tell people he was going to bring prices down. And instead, now he's telling people, what did he say? Stop wanting cheap goods. In other words, now he's saying there's going to be some pain. He's saying prices are going up. Basically, everything is going to get more expensive, and he's telling us that now. There's no if, ands, or buts. He's not trying to hide it any longer. He's telling you these tariffs are going to raise prices. Now they're saying, oh, it's only going to be short term. It almost sounds like the Democrat word. What was that word again? Oh, man. It was transitionary. So now he's claiming that these tariffs are only going to cause a transitionary pain. But at the end of the day, prices are going up, and everybody in government is telling us that. Is this still a good thing from the MAGA perspective? Do you still see, even though everything we've been told so far has been flipped on its head, do you still see this as a possible good thing?
Well, in reality, we are moving from month three slowly but surely into month four on April 25th, I believe. So once again, all this is being thrown at the wall. The president's going to see what sticks. And yeah, stagflation has to be used instead of inflation because it covers those categories, which are low unemployment, slow economic growth, and high prices. So what that is so far with the short term, but in the long term, we'll see what happens because so far, family, as you know, it's only been almost 3 months, January 25th, March 25th, and February 25th. So that's three kind of months there into April. We'll see. Just like everything else, when a new administration comes into play, you either blame your successor, I mean your predecessor, like the president has, and or you say, hey, we have to wait and see what happens. Give us time. Give us into the midsummer and see how we do. And that's about that
Things have gotten so bad with
in
our
3 months.
biggest trading partner. So America and Canada are the two biggest trading partners in the world. Nobody does more trade than America and Canada. We actually, New York City, not New York City, that's not true. Let me, the state of New York, along with a few other states, actually receive their electricity from Canada. We are such big partners that they provide power to some of our largest, most powerful states. They are so upset about what's going on. They are literally buying billboards and placing them in states, warning the American people that the taxes that are being implemented or levied, rather, against Canada are going to be paid by the American citizen. Canada's putting billboards warning Americans that these 25% tariffs are going to hit us. That's how bad it is. Do you think that Canada's overreaching?
The answer is yes. And just like having Russia influence our what you call 2016 election, allegedly, it's the same thing. They're trying to put political pressure from an outside government into ours. So that actually, if it escalates to a certain level with Canada, could be grounds for war or some other tariffs and sanctions. Therefore, if you think about it, that's on one hand. On the other hand, Canada's right there. And again, with reciprocal tariffs, it's like, yo, Canada, we putting all this money into your country. Why can't you put some money in our country? Now, mind you, electricity is one thing, but that's just state by state case basis. What about the entire country and the things that you provide us and we provide you? Let's stay on the playing field. Or you could just become the 51st state, like Puerto Rico maybe should, or DC should, or Virgin Islands should, or Guam should, and we'll just worry about the rest.
So you're all for doing whatever it takes to take over Canada, annexing Canada using colonial
And Puerto
imperialist
Rico
mentality
and
toward them.
DC and Guam and the Virgin Islands and everything else that should become statehood. But mind you, the R word might be used in those other cases because that would give those territories and commonwealths more minority senators in the Senates and also congressional people. So that's the one objection that's been happening out for decades, no matter if the president's red or blue.
Okay, so you're for colonialism.
Yes.
Well,
My America.
it
Ah,
it
I got that little caveat.
can it listen. So this country was established by taking over
Here we go.
territories. That's how the company was established. That's,
I'm saying
oh,
here
I'm
we
sorry.
go with the
Right, the
historical
MAGA party doesn't
context.
like history. I forgot. We don't like history and science on the Republican
All
side.
right, I'll go mute. I'll listen to you.
I forgot. History. We got to change history. Things didn't happen. You know, emissions from coal plants don't hurt the air. There's no such thing as environmental science. Like history and science don't matter to the Republican Party. That's where we at. It's crazy. That's really crazy. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead and jump back into tariffs, but this time I'm gonna do it from a strategic war point. It appears that the bromance between Putin and the President Trump has hit a bit of a bump in the road where Putin isn't exactly ready to capitulate to our president. He is ready to move forward. Doesn't want, he's not going for the peace talks as much as Trump would have liked. That day one promise is something I think Trump really thought he had in the bag because him and Putin was cool. So I think he really honestly believed, what I mean? He's my man. So I'm not saying it like that, but here's what it is. He's my man. So, I'm going to talk to him. We're going to figure this out. He wouldn't have done that if I was here because, we cool. And that seems to be the type of relationship they had. It don't seem like they had any problems. He actually brags about it. Like, other presidents, they always want war with Putin, but I came over there. I was cool. Kim Jong Un, like, yo, I went to Korea and was like, yo, I stepped over the line. I don't think the Secret Service liked it. The people responsible for protecting my life did not like the fact that I put it in danger that way. But I stepped over the line and look what happened. Me and well, like I'm in peace with North Korea. Like, yo, that's my dude. So he does have in his arsenal some of the strongest negotiation tactics ever seen. Like that dude is a beast. I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. The fact that things did not go as well with Russia as he would have liked. At this point, he's actually, even though he said that one of the biggest problems that the economy faced was the fact that the United States tried to place sanctions on Russia, which caused BRICS to really try and find their own finances, which their own currency. I don't want to get too deep into it, but basically the BRICS nations, gosh, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America are formed a
South
nation or
Africa.
formed a coalition similar to NATO, and they call it the BRICS Plus nations. Now, many countries have joined on the rapid. Wow, most of Africa, Mexico was talking to them. So many countries. It's the BRICS Plus nation. South America. So many countries. South America was complaining about USA. So many countries have joined them, and it was because of the sanctions. That was the reasoning. Now Trump is floating 25% more tariffs on Russia to try and use it as leverage to make Putin stop because Putin's just not listening. What do you think is going to happen between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, President Putin actually wants the United Nations to get involved because, in his mind, Zelensky has actually expired his term as the president of Ukraine. However, because of martial law in the Ukraine, Zelensky's like, well, since it's martial law, all elections are suspended under martial law because that's what martial law is for. Because there shouldn't be a new president elections during times of war or martial law when the government has to have full control of everything. So that's one thing. So Putin
Hold on, I
actually,
want to address that point of rhetoric you just said before you go on.
it's rhetoric. Okay.
In their constitution, just like in the United States Constitution, in times of war, the election can be suspended.
Right.
It's not because of martial law; it's a war, which makes sense. You don't want to change leaders in the middle of a conflict. That's kind of like the. So it's because of Putin's attack
Well,
that
I
there
thought
wasn't an
he
election.
had to implement martial law in order to force certain people into the war, meaning that we needed more soldiers. So I'm gonna call martial law, everything shut down, get to fighting everybody. That's my interpretation of the articles. But be that as it may, that's what Putin wants to do. Now, President Trump would like to see a different situation where they go to the negotiation table and they hash this out. Either way, both people, Putin and Trump, want to enter this war peacefully, either through the United Nations, where Putin is trying to say, hey, you guys need to come in and get involved. Or they said, nah, we're not going to get involved with this conflict in order to put in a new administration. And whereas President Trump, like, hey, just in this war, come to the table, talk it out, or else I'm going to put some tariffs on your country. So far, those two ways are kind of like, without firing a shot. So less bloodshed, less money going to weaponry and all the stuff. Our soldiers that are over there as consultants, whatever the case may be, I think it's going to be give or take, but still, that's better than actually, hey, and I help you segue, Leo, what Trump is doing in Iran, which is to bomb the hell out of it. You see what I'm saying? So there you go. Let me just pass the ball back to you. No look.
That was a good segue, but it does leave me with questions. So with Russia, he wants to try and resolve it peacefully through trade and negotiations and threats of sanctions and tariffs. While when it's a different type of country, when there's a different type of people occupying it, he's like bombs away. Now, I never thought Trump to be a racist, but I do think he has people in his ear that might be. And he wants to handle Russia quite differently than he wants to handle Iran. Iran can't be allowed to have nuclear powers, according to Donald Trump.
Neither could South
Why?
Africa under Nelson Mandela, but we won't talk about that right now.
Why do you think he's ready to bomb Iran? Who are the Houthis? And do you see him being able to bring this to an end in the near future?
Not really on different levels. For example, the Houthi, to my understanding, are another Muslim extremist group from over there that we're going to support Hamas if Gaza was attacked by Israel. Ooh, excuse me, it's early. And the Houthis are like, they are about that life of jihad. And listen, I will run at bullets without weapons to prove a point that we are going to destroy everybody. I'll make sure every nursery in this damn country, these kids in kindergarten know how to put on their book bag, aka with the bomb on it, and just walk into your country and blow everything up. So President Trump is like, well, since you guys are in Iran and supported by Iran, and you guys support the war in Israel with Hamas, then the easiest way to resolve this issue, this situation, is to actually threaten to bomb the hell out of you or do it. But the most dangerous thing is if Iran is preparing nuclear arms. Now, you want to go with history? Watch this. George W. Remember, he went in Iraq because they suspected that they had weapons of mass destruction. Whereas Iran, maybe they do. So the same logic for W and Trump, we have to look at it from the political PR lens. Because remember, the media, like other interest groups, is the fourth branch of government. They're the ones that's going to influence the public opinion. Whereas if they stop talking about it and just let things play out, then that's the way it should be. And focus on other things that is going on in the world.
So they shouldn't concentrate on the fact that the U.S. is getting ready to declare war. That's an interesting statement.
Well, it has to be balanced because remember, Iran in Israel, and also we chased out the president of Iran to Russia, so that's another problem that's happening right now. Again, sometimes the Islamic extremism, as they call it, can't really be negotiated like that. And I mean, I'm not really for war and all this other stuff, but I think, with Israel and some other things, just let them have each other. They deserve each other. Biblical times as a Christian, and then Jesus will come back and clear it up for everybody. So that's the best bet here is Jesus. Only Jesus can negotiate this war situation in the Middle East. Now, how's that sound? Back to you.
It sounds like if the United States stepped out of it, Israel would get taken out, and people that got kicked out of their lands less than 100 years ago would get their land back. But that's just an outside perspective looking in. I'm not over there. I don't know what's happening. The rest of the world appears very afraid. I've spoken to people from 4 different countries. Everybody's afraid that Trump is going to wind up causing World War III. They're not afraid of Putin. They're afraid of Putin
Yeah.
also.
Well,
But
he
that,
didn't
like,
start all these wars that are happening right now under his watch. And if it wasn't his watch, if he won in 2020, none of these military conflicts, in my opinion, based on his previous 4 years, would be happening right now. But yes, he's going to start World War III. Let's start scaring the people. Even on this show, let's start scaring them. Go ahead, Leo.
actually, that is very, 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 very difficult to argue. That is one thing I will say that he definitely had no wars. I can't say he had no wars because he makes proclamations such as he destroyed the other Islamic group that's still there. He destroyed them completely, but they're still there. I don't remember who they
But
are.
look at
Or
his
who these are.
negotiation tool. All you have to research is when he was on Hannity talking about the Taliban and what he told the leader of the Taliban. Remember that, Leo? He said, hey, he mailed him some pictures of the guy in his house. He's like, Your Excellency, why are you mailing me next day air FedEx pictures of me in my house? He said, you know why? Because if you ever step out of line, I will hit you harder never seen. And boy, I have a lot of people who want to work over there in the toll booths and in the parking lot collecting tickets. So what do you want to do here? Crickets for the next 4 years. And that's the way I think it should be happening because all it takes is just a little toxic masculinity to show that there could be true leadership. And that's the problem that the baby blue team might be having right now. But Cory Booker yapping on for days on end looks like he might be the potential leader of the Democratic Party. So kudos to him.
Looks like he did try and step up. 25 hours is quite a
Filibuster,
long rant.
filibuster. Must be good, must be bad. Filibuster. We should do away with it or we should keep it. Huh?
25 hours. Yo, I don't know if I could sit and talk for 25 hours, and I'm loquacious as they come. It is bad.
This is bad.
Canada, France actually has a survival kit going around, that survival pamphlet being passed around. I believe we spoke on this prior episode, where it's like, yo, this is what to do in case the United States starts war with us. That's the French government is handing it out. Canadians are worried that war is going to start. South Africa is worried that wars are going to start, and they're looking at the United States, not Russia. And that's why the tariffs being placed by Russia are interesting because it does appear that Russia and America are not in bed quite as deeply as it appeared at first. But let's not go back into that. Let's talk about Elon because time is running short, and Elon is always an interesting character. The left always, the Democrats always want to say that it's like Elon is actually the president or co-president. He does seem to wield an enormous amount of power for somebody who's not an official government agency that has no accountability to Congress. As a matter of fact, Congress has to come to him when they want to try and stop some of the cuts he's doing that are hurting their own constituents. I think that that's going to be the mistake. I think that's going to mean that Elon Musk is going to end up being the Achilles heel for the Trump administration because when enough of the Republican constituents are hurting, they're going to have no choice but to turn on Elon because the judicial race that just happened on Monday, yes, I believe it was Monday, where Elon Musk put more money into a judicial campaign than has ever been done in this country and still lost in a state where it could have gone either way. They call it a purple state. Some people call it a battleground state. And throwing all the money that he could at it, and the most expensive race in the history of the judicial branch, and still losing says that he can't buy an election. They wanted 2 seats in Florida, but those seats were so those places were so deeply red that it was like you couldn't possibly lose. It was something really bad would have had to happen for Mike Waltz to be replaced by a blue guy. Like it would have had to be horrible. So what that means because Mike Waltz jumped up and he's part of the Trump administration, and he came from one of the most red counties in the country, one of the most conservative counties in the country, one of the most Republican counties in the country. So him being replaced by by a Democrat was super highly unlikely, even though Democrats are actually cheering that they did better than they actually should have, even in both of those Floridian races in those super. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they saying they did better than they should have, but they beat Elon. What do you think that means for the future? Like, I think that it shows a chink in the armor, and possibly he might be the Achilles heel. Even though Trump, I'll give him this too. You cannot take this away from Trump. He backs his people. Marco Rubio, not what? What are you talking about? There's no. These guys are great, but sir, he leaked. He brought in your adversary in the media into a private chat about an attack. There was no mistake made. As a matter of fact, everything went great. Like, he backs his
That was
Yo, he
my
backs his
fault.
people up to the wall. We just sent somebody out of the country who he might have been a family man, sir. He was a ruthless killer. He was a child molester. He was a child trafficker. Like he backs his people up, right or wrong. I am behind my people the same way. I don't think I would have labeled somebody a child molester. That's crazy. But he does back his people up. What do you think his backing of Elon Musk with the chinks in the armor where the threats against legislation are we'll put all this money against you in a race if you're losing, if you don't follow us. Rather, we'll put all this money against you. Elon Musk will make sure you don't get in by putting all this money against you. What effect does this judicial loss with all the money Elon Musk gathered together have on the Trump administration and in particular in Trump's support of Elon Musk? Do you think that that might wind up being a problem for him down the line?
Well, first, number one, pumping money into elections happens all the time. So that's number one. From various special interest groups and special people that have a lot of money, just like they always deflect to George Soros, some go with Elon Musk, and all those various factors. So that's the first thing. The next thing is this loss of a judge in Wisconsin is something that is really important in the sense that they are worried about them controlling the census and actually redistricting and actually gerrymandering in the Democrats' favor of such an important swing state like Wisconsin. So that's what's going on there politically. Now, back to Mr. Musk. Unfortunately, to my understanding, he might be transitioning out because remember, they're burning and destroying domestic violently, if that's a term, all his Teslas in the country, which are American made. Isn't that interesting? So all the American jobs that put the components together for Tesla, those people have a problem. Well, owners of
I'm
Tesla.
gonna interrupt you 1 second. And like, yo, the Democrats ain't saying nothing about it. Like, a brick goes through a window of a Tesla, and the Democrats are like, I'm sorry, go ahead. That is, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Some
That's
people call it domestic terrorism because remember, Elon Musk, believe it or not, was appointed by the executive officer, the president of the United States, into Doge, which used to be the digital officer, whatever it was, before they rebranded it, after the cryptocurrency, whatever. But in long story short, he is appointed by the president of the United States, like it or not. So that makes him a de facto governmental official, politically appointed. And any kind of public display of attack en masse and coordinated by a way can be construed as domestic terrorism, which for whatever reason, has its consequences. Just like a mass shooting at random here, there, that's well coordinated, can be construed as domestic terrorism when you turn on your own government. That's the point of that terminology, in my opinion. And so, once again, back to Mr. Musk, he's losing too much money being involved in the Trump administration, just like Donald Trump is losing so much money. Those are two facts. Now, you could theorize instead of helping out their billionaire friends, their end game, they're going to be making money on the back end, but those are the facts. His PR is horrible right now because he's doing this work with the government. So he might be transitioning out to focus on his business affairs and SpaceX and those kind of things that are going down in the stock market or whatever the case may be. But yes, Elon's days are numbered. So hopefully everybody's happy when he goes away and they can focus on something else. And then he can just get out of the media like it never happened in the first place.
Trump doubled down on Monday and said Elon's not going anywhere. Like I said, he's very supportive of his people. He said Elon's going to stay until his mission is complete. That's the state. That's what he said. That's where he's at with it. He's not. He doesn't let his people go because of bad media. He sticks with his friends. It's admirable trait. Truthfully, it is. Like he sticks with his friends. Something went wrong. Yo, you my man. I'm not going to throw you to the wolves, especially because that's what the media wants me to do. I'm not going to give the enemies what they want. I respect that. I listen. You my man. I got your back. You know, that's I respect it. But no, Elon's not going anywhere. That's not right now. And that's where Trump is staying. So being that Trump is probably going to keep Elon around based on what he's saying, even though he can change his mind overnight because he does that often. So maybe Elon will disappear. But right now, his threat to be able to control legislation by putting money against them
Happens all the
doesn't
time.
seem doesn't seem as powerful anymore when he put all that $20 million behind a local judge to get them in the office and still lost. So if Elon Musk wane in popularity and increase in dislikability, if that's a word, going to be a problem for Trump? And if so, do you think that's when Trump will get rid of him?
Well, according to media outlets, President Trump and the behind the scenes, they are talking about Elon's transition out and what's going on. And again, this guy has more to lose right now on the surface than to gain, theoretically. Maybe I'm wrong. And yes, again, the popularity contest, that is politics. With Trump's popularity in the media, by default, Elon Musk's popularity in the media, and what's going on with mass firings and deportations in error, as it were, yes, it's not a good look. So until this is resolved, they're still going to find, they, meaning the mainstream media, and other Trump deranged people will find ways to come at Trump, their president, and make him look bad. By default, actually it hurts us overall as Americans because if you see Trump lose and want him to lose, by default, he's going to take everything down. Not because willingly, some people say kicking and screaming, but it affects all our systems. Like Canada, we want to have faith in Canada because of what they're doing. You have Jasmine Crockett believing in Mexico and other countries and want to support them more, want to see us go down as a country just to spite Trump. And I believe that is wrong. And that's actually, un-American. So if people suspended their, dashes, African, Latino, gay, Jew, Indian, American, before that, before the hyphen, then hey, if we're all Americans, this hurts us overall. So
So one thing good I think might be positive is Elon Musk wants to make the payments that people are receiving by checks electronic,
Yes.
digitizing and bringing us into, I don't know, the 19th century. No, I jest. It'll, he wants to update the systems, paper checks, he's trying to get rid of them. I have my own suspicions on what direction that's going. I have my own thing about that, but it might be a positive thing. It can be seen definitely as a positive thing that he wants to audit electronic payments, which would bring accountability because it should bring transparency to the government. So, do you think that Elon can should lean more into some of the things that he's actually really doing versus the stuff that he can't show proof of?
Well,
Do
the
you
thing
think that
about
would
it
help?
is, of course, everybody wants to Elon Musk to do things that they want him to do and be happy about it. Even though that's one thing to show that the system that he's implementing or he's trying to promote actually works with the American people want. Whereas on the other hand, when it comes to waste, fraud, and abuse in other areas like US aid, they disagree with. So it's give or take. And yeah, so people actually can, I'm very big of you too, admit when Donald Trump is actually doing something good. So that is fair and balanced journalism.
Well, then I got to throw a negative because this is actually a little scary.
All
He's
right.
already walking around talking about, well, people want me to run for a third term. He hasn't been in office 100 days yet. He's already talking about a third term. I have heard many people say that all of this, everything that's going on, is in a document that was over 800 pages long that I haven't gotten all the way through yet, but I've seen quite a bit of this in it. What was it called? Project 2025. You said no, it's Agenda 47.
It is Agenda 47 because Project 2025 is a nonprofit. So it makes sense. All the grants and funding and other nonprofits can attack that as opposed to the political Trump doctrine manifesto, Agenda 47, which actually had the point by point what he wanted to do. So unless we look at the Agenda 47 and go through it and say, hey, wow, Trump did say this, that's the real way to hold him accountable. Now, if you want to go to the Heritage Foundation and some of its Black partners like Project 21 and Frederick Douglass Leadership Institute, then you can go for all that. But if you want to attack President Trump's accountability on paper, you have to look at Agenda 47.
Well, on paper is one thing, but what's
Um,
actually being implemented and what's in the doctrine
uh,
are, it can be considered important. So he is floating the
look at Agenda
third term.
47. Why can't we look at Agenda 47 and say, hey, you know
We
what?
can. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I've looked for it and can't find it.
Yes,
I'm
people are
going to
so
find it.
obsessed with Project 2025 as a
No, I
scare
want to
tactic.
find Agenda 47. I
Right
actually
before
want to
you
read it for
are
myself. But what do you think about the fact that he's floating the third term? Do you think, I mean, we know that it's against the
been trying as
Constitution.
always to get a rise on the people around the country that hate his guts. And but on the same token, with civic education, he's also educating on the Constitution too with the 22nd Amendment. So this is a good thing for education. If he's trolling, but people have to start doing their research and see how the process works. Three-fourths of this, two-thirds of that. All the states had to read. If you want abortion codified among some other rights instead of wasting all this money on grants and fighting in court cases, then you should what? Amend the United States Constitution. Because that way the Supreme Court can't even stop you because their job is to do what? Uphold the United States Constitution. But in this country, certain individuals and entities believe as though majority should rule, and that's it. There should be no freaking electoral college. Supreme Court should do what they say. We should stack it, have term limits. Then that's up to them. But if they were serious and had this actually hardened, just like the New York State's Equal Rights Amendment, they have to get together and amend the United States Constitution. Otherwise, people like Dion could just say, hey, I can't take your civil social justice very seriously if you want these national rights and whatever the case may be. If you're not educating and working towards, shout out to Convention of States New York, who I know personally, who educates on how to amend the Constitution. They're trying to do it too, which is have the Convention of States come in, vote, let's revision the Constitution, let's proceed forward, do whatever you want. That's the purpose. But everybody else, in my opinion, is not serious about civic education when it comes to these matters. And number two, actually codifying these things. Because just like Closed Rikers, the nonprofit, now that they're closing Rikers, the nonprofit still exists. because they need to make more money of grants and pay all the people they want to keep on jobs. But your mission statement is complete. We're closing Rikers. So shouldn't you nonprofit close up shop and say a job well done? No, these nonprofits, these civil rights groups, they can't do that because this big monster that's hiding around every corner, every threat has to always exist so they can make money and play off your emotions and get you guys to just right now, downright just hate Donald Trump. But like I said earlier, it's not working anymore. Back to you, Ellis.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up some of the substantial amounts of money that Donald Trump has already brought into the country using tariffs. I Do you know about that list? I mean, he has brought in a lot of money.
I want to hear from you. That way the viewers can say, wow, Leo's being objective today. And
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know the whole list, but I know he's bought in, what is it, 50 billion? No, 50, I think it's 50 billion from Facebook, 100 billion from steel companies. Like there's a laundry list of there's almost he bought in three-quarters of $1 trillion already, and the tariffs were announced less than 3 months ago. He bought in almost $1 trillion already. The companies are coming. Honda's coming. Honda's a Japanese company, car company. They're building a plant here. They put in like I don't their are coming because I'm not sure the numbers. I don't have it listed. I expected you to throw these numbers out there because they are crazy. He's brought in some bread.
why is the media playing that on loop? That sounds like a good thing, and everybody's
They're
supposed to
not. I don't know. I don't. I pay attention to both sides, so I never know. I don't recall. No, so I really don't recall what I heard from which side. So I don't know what they're playing and what they're not because I've listened to both sides. That's why I have the information. I don't know where I got it, but I know that Ms. Levitt has touted these numbers. I know Donald Trump speaks about them 2 to 3 times a week, which I mean, the numbers are incredible. He's bringing in a lot of money, and I don't know if it's going to offset the costs. His plan seems to be working. No one has levied taxes against other nations like this since what is it, 1890? What's in my notes? Yes, McKinley in 1890, which, according to some Republican sources, I do remember this one's Republican. This might be the blueprint for his game plan, which worked in
Project
1890
2025.
for the tariffs. The tariffs were maybe that's why they know where it's from because but that's what that it seems to be working. He's bringing, regardless of the fact that we're probably going to have a recession. The long game is bringing companies in. That's happening. Apple's pledged, was it 500 million or something like that to build companies here. Like the largest companies in the world, Nvidia is coming here and so Nvidia is another chip building company. So the largest chip building company in the world is coming here, and they're putting in hundreds of millions of dollars. Uh, Toyota, no, GMC car companies coming here, Chevrolet, all's going to be built here. There are, he is bringing in massive amounts of money. There will be jobs. And these are going to be manufacturing jobs. These are not going to be jobs where people are going to be brought in from other countries to do. You're not going to bring somebody in to do manufacturing labor. And even if you do, you still got to pay them livable wages. So jobs will increase under Trump. That will happen.
Well, it looks like here tariffs are a part of Agenda 40, I mean Agenda 47. So there you go. Universal, what's it called? Universal baseline tariffs on most foreign products, which will increase incrementally if other countries manipulate their currency or otherwise engage in unfair trade practices and lowering taxes. And yeah, so passing the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, if any country applies a certain percentage tariff on American-made goods, the same tariff will be applied on theirs. Well, there you have it, Leo. Agenda 47. Now, let me see that in writing in Project 2025.
Well, it's not going to say Trump in Project 2025,
Oh,
and
God. Why are we talking about Project
because
2025?
Project 2025 was supposed to happen if they were able to get any Republican into the seat. It was prior to Trump getting there. It was what was supposed to happen if any that was the words in it. If they got control of
So
the
what does it have
executive
to do with President Trump?
because he got in as a Republican, so that was if it's kind of like old basic in programming.
Why
It's
can't we talk about Agenda 47? I just read it for yourself. So if you want to
I
see what
gotta find that.
evil Donald Trump is going to do in the future, don't you think you should read Agenda 47 and stop looking over there for Project 2025? If you want to get ahead of Donald Trump, you got to look at that Agenda 47 now when we agree about that, because that's his platform. If you want to hold President Donald Trump accountable for anything that he's promised to do, and we all know he's an evil liar, that's a fork tooth Donald Trump, then you should look at Agenda 47.
Well, it's because Agenda 47 is his plan to move forward, right? But
That's
the
on the
plan,
campaign trail.
what is it? Well, what is it based on?
It's
Is
based
it
on
because
what any candidate, unlike the others on the other side, actually want to do, an actual platform that they hold them accountable to that they're actually going to say they're going to do. However, I don't want to deflect on other candidates. They don't have or didn't have a Project 2025 of their own or their own agenda. Because if you remember, when they swapped out and pushed out Uncle Joe and brought Kamala Harris, it was just copy and paste on her website. But before that, people like Dion Lewis on her website, wait a minute, all website is telling us about is just give money. There's no bio of Kamala Harris or what she wants to do. And so all that public pressure, like, hey, lady, you need to have something in your website of substance. Those people are paid a lot of money, unlike the people I know that are black that are still owed money with their GoFundMe's, those people just copy and paste on the website. Isn't that interesting? I hope to grow up to be a consultant just like that, make a lot of money to just do stuff like that and just say, hey, yeah, what can you do? And then the candidate loses and I pocket all his money.
that is very unfortunate. And both
Why?
sides have been responsible for it in the past. Trump is the first president in my lifetime. No, Reagan did it. Reagan did it. That's actually coming through and actually keeping his political promise. No one's done it like Trump. He's keeping his promises. Like them, don't like them. He's making that shit happen. Excuse my
That's
language. I don't
right.
even.
You will feel the pinch either way.
Well, the changes are here. He's brought the tariffs in. He's taken them away. He's brought them back. He's taken them away. He's brought them back. It's Liberation Day, and this is happening. Not only is it happening, it has happened. We are here. These tariffs are here to stay. The rest of the world is putting. They said they had game plans for it. I think this time when he said it was Liberation Day, if they didn't know it was that he was just giving them time before, he's then they got what they deserve because it was obvious what he was going to do to me. Like he's going to do what he said. Duh. And this here, my biggest concern is how it's going to affect us with EU, with NATO, with Canada being the biggest trading partner. No one in the world has the relationship that United States. The reason he says make Canada the 51st state is because our relationship has been so close for so long. I mean, I don't think there's any place else on the
Thank you.
planet.
Sorry to cut you off, Leo. I think we have one of our favorite trolls in the chat, Mr. Adesh Dubey, who doesn't want his government led out there. So I got some more kryptonite for him because he likes to troll my group, the New York Black Red Rave. So Mr. AD, who I get a lot of complaints out on the back end for all his aggressive trolling, we love you, we see you, we support you, okay? And yes. So far, we're not putting his comments or reading his comments in the chat, but he's texting me privately. So yeah, more kryptonite for this guy.
All right, what do you got to say? Let's hear it because I don't see any comments here.
You don't see any comments in the chat? Well, I guess he must be texting me privately. He says Project 25 is Russ Vaults. He has nothing to do with rhinos. Project 25 is MAGA versus Republican establishment. That's what he said. Hopefully he'll put it in the chat, but he's watching us now live.
That's what it is. It's what became MAGA. It came from Project 2025. It's all of the stuff is there. It was the project. It's the blueprint for Agenda 47. Project 2025 is the blueprint
Oh, here
for
we
Agenda
go. I'm
47.
so
That's
scared, and so should you.
I didn't say it was good or bad. I said these are just the facts. That's what it is. Everything that
What does
he's
that
done is
mean
in
for
Project
Kelly?
2025. It's perhaps a coincidence.
Uh,
Maybe it's just something that happened randomly that it followed the blueprint, but it's there. And what's up, Adesh? Thanks for the support. We're not getting a whole lot of
He's
people on the
laughing.
lives yet, but we are definitely getting thousands of views on all of our videos. So even people are going back watching the lives afterwards. We record early. We gotta figure out the timing more, and I gotta figure out how to advertise it better. I'm not sure. I'm still working on that, but we're getting people liking what we're talking about. The last one we got over 1,500 views on it and a bunch of likes. So we're doing very well. Doing very, very, very well. Thousands of views for something that's been going on for less than 3 months is for less than 100 days
I
is
still
not.
prefer the side by side view, but Leo, this is your baby.
I
Okay, I
haven't been able to figure that
argue the
out. We've been
creative
working on it.
differences.
Let's figure it out Sunday.
You gotta troubleshoot this, man. The people want more.
Well, let's work it out. We tried it. It's still not working. I don't know what else to do. We tried 3 or 4 times at this point. We'll get it because I do think the side by side view will be good to give us the ability to bring in other people also.
That way you can hear the sound of me shaking my head until it's perfect.
So people know what I'm responding to, and I'm like, no, but
They gotta
I know I
see.
went past your hour. I see that you're not shaved this morning. So is the campaign over?
Petitioning period is over. I submitted my guy. Well, the election lawyer submitted my guys. And by the way, the election lawyer said, "Wow, these positions are great. I got to retain you,
Nice.
Dion." I said, "Of course, I know
Look,
what I'm
that's what's
doing."
up. Congratulations.
It's not all stock.
Congratulations. That's wonderful, bro.
And hopefully, I have a potential contract with a person running on the independent line from there and get some money out of him. But we'll see if they play the black man. But this time, the black man, they all know that he knows what he's doing and know what he's talking about. Whereas this
That's
person got
nice.
burnt before by other consultants that had no results. So we'll see if they play the back man. And maybe I should go a little bit harder at the negotiation table. Like, nah, if you don't put my six-figure budget in place, I'm not sure if it's happening. And guess what? I have options for some other people that have some money. How about that? But if the Trump administration calls me and says, Dion, you know what? They're messing with us. We need you to just go to Ghana and sit there and do nothing and make a six-figure salary just to spite US aid, then that's what I'm going to do. To serve with the pleasure, no diddy, of the president and serve my country that way. Be in Ghana, in the embassy, either the Department of State, USAID, Peace Corps, or whatever other administrative capacity or missions, as it's called, then that's great. That's my end game, Ghana. And just self into sunset. Hopefully, I bring you, Leo. But you got to stay in this country and handle your business. But Dion doesn't have the kids or much family over here. So, poof, time to go over there and create a new one. Back to you.
I always forget to do this, but if you're enjoying the content, if you got something out of it, please like, share, let people know what's going on.
All right.
We discuss very, very important things, what's going on in the world, and we do it in a unique way. Like there's other people that don't give both sides. They just give all their propaganda on most of these channels.
Don't
And that's why I
deranged.
like this. We give both
Yeah.
sides. I love it. I love it. It's the only channel that I've seen that really does it to the degree that we
That's
do
why
it.
black people like Dion are so sought out because they've been demonized for decades. But thanks to organizations that Dion's a part of, like Blexit, New York, we've all found each other. So now our sanity and mental state and spiritual state is actually getting easier because we all have community now. We have new families that cut us off for not taking the Dr. Fauci ouchie or supporting President Donald J. Trump. But here we are. So I'm Dion Powell, Dion, D-I-O-N, at nyconsultant, singular.us. Dion at nyconsultant.us. Come holler at your boy if you're running for office, have a business, nonprofit, faith-based organization. Let's all help the black business, as they were, make money. But unfortunately for you, Dion's going to try to leave this country to Ghana, where everything's black owned, but not progressively in your face like overnight.
If you've enjoyed the content, please subscribe so that you can keep updated with all of our lives, which we do every Thursday. And Monday, we generally drop our weekend review of what's been going on since Thursday because Donald Trump keeps us so busy. We have to keep going because it's just so much. We
That's
got
right.
through
Some of our episodes, we should start with a disclaimer saying, hey, this episode has been previously recorded and have that little thing in the ticker. You know what I mean? So people don't get confused.
well, it's not live. The lives are actually listed in a different section.
Right. That's right.
Like, yeah. So, but please, if you enjoyed the content, subscribe. This is LC signing out.